Good day everyone, my name is Larry Michael Pascual. I am a PhD in Nursing Education student from St. Paul University, Manila. Today I am tasked to discuss about mixed methods of research. Okay, so what is a mixed method research design? A mixed method research design is a procedure for collecting, analyzing, and mixing both quantitative and qualitative research and methods in a single study to understand the research problem. To utilize this design effectively, you must understand both quantitative and qualitative research. So, mixed design is defined as refers to an emergent methodology of research that advances the systematic integration or mixing of quantitative and qualitative data within a single investigation or sustained program. So, what are the rationales and purposes for utilizing mixed methods, or why do we use mixed methods? First, according to Campbell and Fish, they coined the term multiple operationalism, in which more than one method is used as a part of the validation process that ensures that the variance explained is the result of underlying phenomenon or trait and not of the method. It's either qualitative or quantitative. Also, Jick in 1979 noted the advantages of triangulation as a process that leads the researcher. When you say triangulation, that is using more than one method in a research process, so you can obtain a thicker and richer data. Also, you can be more confident in the interpretation of results. Additionally, synthesizing or integrating multiple theories, developing creative ways of collecting the data, uncovering contradictions, and lastly, of course, is using triangulation as a test for competing theories. Next, Rossman and Wilson in 1985 noted that researchers combining quantitative and qualitative research leads to convergence of findings, elaboration of analysis to provide richer data, and initiation of new modes of thinking by attending to paradoxes that emerges from the two data sources. Also, Mark and Shotland in 1987 provided the following three purposes of mixed method research. Number one is of course the triangulation. Example is your convergence. Number two is bracketing. When you say bracketing, example is seeking a range of estimates, namely confidence intervals, on the correct answer. And lastly is your complementary. Using example of your complementary is using different methods to evaluate different phenomena to evaluate plausibility of identified threats to validity or to enhance the interpretability of a single phenomenon. Another rationale and purpose is, according to Green, Garasel, and Graham in 1989, they identified through inductive analysis a typology of 5 purposes of rationales of mixed methods. Number one is, of course, again, triangulation, seeking convergence or correlation results from different methods studying the same phenomena. On the next one is your complementary. When you say complementary, example is seeking elaboration, enhancement, illustration, clarification of the results from one method with results from the other method. Next is your development. So when you say development, an example is using the results from one method to help inform the other methods. Fourth, expansion. When you say expansion, example is seeking to expand the breadth and range of inquiry by using different methods for different inquiry components. And lastly is your initiation. So when you say initiation, that is discovering paradoxes and contradictions that lead to the reframing of the research question. Okay, after the rationales that we discussed regarding mixed method research design, we'll go now to what are the methods of data gathering. So, mixed methods research methodology. So when you gather data, you should utilize both quantitative and qualitative data collection methodologies. These are the examples of your quantitative and qualitative data collection. First is you can do your interviews or you can give your questionnaires. You can give performance tests and observation. You can questionnaires and follow-up focus groups, document analysis, performance tests, questionnaire, and interviews. You can also do classroom observations, and you can do randomized control trials, and many more. It depends on the design or the tool that you will be using on your research. Okay, so let's continue. What are the types of the mixed method design? So we have four types. Number one is, of course, your convergent parallel design. Second is your explanatory sequential design. Then followed by your exploratory sequential design, and lastly is your embedded or nested design. So let's take them one by one. Let's start with your convergent parallel design. So when you say convergent parallel design, you get your quantitative data collection analysis and qualitative data collection analysis concurrently. You compare or relate and then do the interpretation. In convergent parallel design, the researcher will collect the quantitative and qualitative data concurrently or at the same time. Also, she will analyze the two datasets separately, mixes the two databases by merging the results during interpretation, and sometimes during data analysis. Next, in your when to use the convergent design. So, when you need to collect both types of data in one visit to the field. Also, both types of data have equal value for understanding the research problem, have quantitative and qualitative research skills. So the researcher must be knowledgeable on both qualitative and quantitative. Can manage extensive data collection activities individually or within a team. Sorry. In convergent parallel design, we have strengths and challenges. So what are the strengths? It is intuitive, efficient, and lends itself to teams. What are their challenges or weaknesses? Requires substantial effort and expertise, issues related to the samples and sample sizes, difficult to converge two sets of different data, of course, and how to resolve discrepant results. Convergent parallel design, in summary, is qualitative and quantitative data collected and analyzed concurrently. So qualitative plus quantitative. So for example, your aim is to identify sources of stress of nurses working in ER settings, personal coping strategies used, and types of programs or support system provided by the hospitals. So quantitative, national survey of all RNs working in ER departments based on literature to identify common sources of stress and methods of support used by employers to reduce nurses' stress. On the qualitative side, focus groups and interviews with random selection of nurses working in ER to broaden understanding of different sources of stress and personal coping strategies. So what is your synthesis here? Data integration during interpretation phase after quantitative and qualitative data analysis. Next, here's your explanatory sequential design. So when you say explanatory, quantitative data collection and analysis, then follow up with your qualitative data collection and analysis, and then you will do your interpretation. So explanatory sequential design starts by collecting and analyzing quantitative data, collects and analyzes qualitative data in the second phase as a follow-up to the quantitative results. So when do you use explanatory design? Number one, researcher and research problem are quantitatively oriented. No important variables and instruments are available. Participants are available for second data collection, have time to conduct the two phases, and have limited resources and need to collect and analyze data type at a time. Lastly is new questions emerge from your quantitative results. So what are the strengths of your explanatory? Number one is appealing to quantitative researchers. So if you are more of a quantitative researcher oriented, you can use explanatory design. Straightforward to implement two phases. Final report can be written in two phases also. And lastly, it lends itself to emergent approaches. What are the challenges? Number one is, of course, your two phases require lengthy time to implement. Need to decide what results to follow up, must decide criteria for selecting participants, and lastly, need to conduct participants for the second round of the study. Explanatory sequential design as a summary is quantitative data are collected and analyzed first, then qualitative data are collected and analyzed to help explain the quantitative data. So quantitative followed by qualitative. Example is you want to identify the levels of stress among new graduate registered nurses working in the emergency room. So what is your quantitative? National survey of new RNs working in ER settings measuring levels of workplace stress, and followed by personal interviews with 15 to 20 new RNs working in ER settings to discuss their experiences with stressful work situations. So what is the synthesis here? It's sequential. Qualitative data help explain quantitative data. Let's go to the third type of your mixed method. So that's the exploratory sequential design. So when you say exploratory, qualitative data collection and analysis, follow up with quantitative data collection, and then you will do your interpretation. So compared with your explanatory is quanti, and then you will do qualitative. For exploratory, you will do your qualitative data, and then you follow up with your quantitative data collection. And okay, so in doing your exploratory design, you have the purposes. So you need to explore variables, theories, hypotheses not known, to develop an instrument or typology that is not available, to assess whether quantitative teams generalize a population. So when to use your explanatory sequential design, researcher and research problem are qualitatively oriented, important variables not known and instruments still not available, have time to conduct two phases, and have limited resources and need to collect and analyze data one at a time. New questions have emerged from quality. So what are the strengths and challenges of your exploratory design? So strengths first is straightforward to design, implement, and report. Quantitative component can make the qualitative approach more acceptable to quantitative bias audiences. Researcher produces a product such as an instrument, okay, and lends itself to emergent approaches. How about the challenges? So two phases require lengthy time to implement. Deciding the qualitative findings to use for quantitative phase. Procedures for developing a valid and reliable instrument. So in exploratory sequential design, as a summary, qualitative data are collected and analyzed first, then quantitative data are collected and used to test the findings empirically. So qualitative, and then you can develop a tool, and then you can do your quantitative analysis. So if you aim to identify highest sources of workplace stress for the new nurses working in hospital emergency rooms, Your qualitative is focus group data collected from newly registered nurses working in hospital ERs within a local area health service to discuss the workplace stress, followed by qualitative data used to create a national survey administered to all RNs working in ERs about sources of workplace stress experience within their first year of practice. So what is this synthesis? It's sequential. Qualitative data inform collection of quantitative data which verify qualitative data. The last type of the mix method is embedded or nested design. So in embedded or nested designs, you collect and analyze quantitative and qualitative data within a quantitative research design, a qualitative research design, or a research procedure. Collection and analysis of the secondary data set occurs before, during, and or after the primary methods. Embedded design is used to address different questions that call for different methods. So when do we use the embedded design? Number one, if you have an expertise with the primary design, you are comfortable with primary orientation, have a little prior experience with the supplemental method, resources limit placing equal priority on both methods, and need for data or secondary set of data emerges. Okay, so what are the strengths of your embedded or nested design and the challenges? So first, the strengths is may require less time and fewer resources, improve larger design with supplemental data, fits team approach well, may be able to publish results separately, appealing to those accustomed to the traditional designs. And then the challenges is need expertise in primary design and mixed methods, must specify purpose for collecting the supplemental data, must decide when to collect the supplemental data, results are difficult to integrate also, and must consider treatment bias if qualitative data collected during the experiment. So as a summary, so when you do your embeddedness, it can be either qualitative or quantitative main design with the alternative paradigm embedded within the study to answer a complementary question. So qualitative plus quantitative or quantitative plus qualitative. Example, you want to test an online peer support program designed to reduce workplace stress for new RNs working in the emergency room. Randomized controlled trial to test online program effect on stress levels and intention to remain working in ER, followed by your interview nested in the randomized controlled trial, focus on user experiences of the online program. So what is the synthesis of this one? Qualitative analysis with embedded within the main quantitative study. So those are the different types and methods, data gathering procedures, and data analysis of the mixed method studies. So um, to end my lesson, I want to ask you this question. What are the philosophical assumptions and common variants on the four types of mixed method research design? Thank you very much and have a good day.